What is up, bros? Me, Josh here, and today's video is all about the Tier 8 Premium Battleship, the Gasconge. Now, keep in mind, all of these stats are work in progress and subject to change, and I imagine some of them will. So, first of all, Tier 8 Battleship looks pretty cool. I actually kind of like the look. Although the walls are pretty vertical and pretty flat, it does overall look like a pretty good ship. I think the French ships look pretty solid overall. One thing that I think they will change is I think they'll change their main batteries. It's two sets of four, as you can see here, four in the front, four in the back, and I've kind of seen that with the Dunker. It has two sets of four, so this might be the pattern as it goes on for the French Battleship line when it eventually comes out of having that. But the gas can, I think overall has some potential, and I'll kind of dive into that when we show some gameplay. But I do think they will have a couple of changes. So for tier 8, 63,200, that's pretty damn competitive at this tier. 66,000 for the Alabama. I guess stuff like the Amagi was 66,000 and stuff like the Turfix. You are going to be on the little on the lower side, but there's a reason for it, and that's because of your insane range of almost 25 kilometers. Overall armor is pretty mediocre, I would say. You got to be a little bit careful, but as I said, I think they're going to play this thing a little bit more like a sniper with only 320 millimeters on the side, 250. Take one more layer away. There's not too much really for armor, but I was actually bouncing some shells when I was going about, and 37% torpedo bolt, which is pretty solid for this tier. Secondaries are pretty non-existent, honestly. You're not going to be going crazy with this ship, at least. Secondaries, but like I said, 25, almost 25 kilometer range, and that's without a buff or anything like that. That's 25 kilometer range. One of the downsides, though, is maximum dispersion at 309, which is one of the downsides, and at 30-second reload. So that's what I think they'll probably hit the most. The only other ships at this tier with 380 millimeters are the Tirpitz and the Bismarck, and if you guys ever played those, they're known for their fast reload and 26 seconds. Also, the Monarch has a 381, that's a 25-second reload, and I believe it was the Roma has a 381 at 30. So you are the slowest reloading ship with 380 millimeters at tier 8. So I think that's probably what they'll end up changing. I could see some potential in this ship. I see potential in this ship itself. Right now, though, it's not the strongest thing. AA is all right. You're kind of middle of the pack. I think I even have this thing kind of specced out for AA a little bit with some mods and whatnot. And you're up to 80%, or a rating of 80, and you're knocking 25, 54, 97. So your main AA is going to be kind of that mid-range at about 5 kilometers. So you will be knocking out some planes, but you're not going to be clearing the sky like in North Carolina or Alabama. Concealment 12.6, you're relatively stealthy, not quite a Monarch at actually you're better than the Monarch. Well, Monarch doesn't have a captain in it, but Monarch gets down to 10 point something. And let's just see, like the Massachusetts is at 16.1, but that's not with a Massachusetts and the Alabama are relatively low. I don't have a captain in these right now. But Tirpitz 14.3, but I think that's a secondary captain. So honestly, your overall captain, your overall ship is going to be relatively stealthy, but you kind of need that because you're not going to be that much of a brawler. But let's kind of dive in and kind of show you how this ship plays and what I think is kind of happening, and actually what I'm a little nervous about with this kind of ship coming out as a premium. So here we are in game with the Gasconge. As you can see, we are a tier 8 ship all the way bottom tier. There's not much we can really do. I think all the games I played with this ship, we were rolling bottom tier against tier 9s. RIP tier 8 matchmaking, but not much you can really do. And, semi-promising. First salvo, 6,300 on a broadside GK. We'll take it. I think this ship really, with its range, actually a lot of people have been had been calling this really like an HE ship, long range HE ship, which I really hope it doesn't end up being. But this is when I was a little bummed right here, trying to hit this Moskva. And as you can tell, with 8 shells going out, either you want the shells to be relatively accurate, or something. And I was hoping to get a little bit more than that. Only 2 shells hit on a perfectly broadside target. I think in any other tier 8 ship probably would have touched that a little bit harder. So not much you can really do, and we're gonna try to pump in a nice little pop shot on this gearing if we can. Battleships should always be shooting at destroyers. So with this ship, though, you have a massive range. Your accuracy is pretty mediocre with this thing. It has what, 309 meters, but that's all the way at almost the 25 kilometers. So that's pretty far away. And I tried to play this ship a little bit aggressive, a little bit more aggressive than probably you normally would. And in the end, it ended up kind of actually working out this game. So down he goes, so down the game goes, which is great. But really, the long range, and I tried to use AP as much as I could this game to kind of test it out. The HE is actually pretty solid, but I don't think it's completely an HE ship. But my biggest fear about this ship and this kind of play coming out of battleships is a ship like this with this much range. And when a ship has that kind of range, people tend to use it. And, it's, if it's there, you might as well use it, right? But it's also a double-edged sword, because if it's there, people will use it. And what do I mean by that is that I'm seeing a pattern of battleships being played poorly, and that's one of my biggest fear about the gas can. Now, the gas can itself has a good potential of being a pretty decent ship. It has a good potential of, having being a fast battleship. As you can see, I just popped speed boost and I popped spotter plane at the same time, with almost 30-kilometer range, as it put me way out. The ship itself has a potential of being a good ship and being competitive at this tier. I think if they, if they just accept, okay, so they're gonna have to do one thing, right? They're gonna, one, either have to give it a faster reload, or two, make it more accurate, because you need that. You're pumping out some of the lowest shells with 8 shells. So I think you're actually pumping out the lowest shells for tier 8 battleships. I think besides the Monarch, maybe. No, I think the Monarch. So you have the least amount of shells going out tier 8. I'm trying to think if I'm wrong there, but I don't think I am. So least amount of shells going out at tier 8. You have fairly inaccurate, and it's not like they're the fastest firing. So it needs something. So either it needs better accuracy, or it needs better reload. If they just accept the fact that the reload is going to be mediocre, which I think is fine. It's I don't think giving a ship this much range with laser accuracy is a good thing. But I do feel like they need to change one of those two. I think what they'll end up doing is giving it a reload. I don't think there'd be anything wrong with giving this ship a reload buff. But really, I do think there is an underlying problem with how this ship. So, like I said, the ship itself could potentially be solid. I don't like the play style that's potentially going to come from ships like this. We started to see it a lot with, and those torps looking beautiful. We're going to try to, I think, put a little extra damage into him, because I wasn't sure how many he'd take. But he ends up taking 4, so we'll put a little bit more damage into him, 7k. That comes up a lot in my stream, actually, if people are like, oh, sorry for stealing your kill, or sorry for this, sorry for that. I don't care. Let me know in the comments below. That's kind of off topic. Are you guys really annoyed when somebody steals your kill? We talked about this last night in a little bit in depth, and I don't really care. I mean, as long as he dies, my main focus about the game is winning. So I don't really care, honestly. I feel like as long as he dies and we win the game, I'm cool with that. The only time I feel like it's I get a little bit annoyed is if like a CV wastes an entire drop on something that is obviously going to die, like a battleship with 3 fires and flooding, and it uses an entire USN torp drop to kill something with 300 life or something like that. That's probably the only time. But I don't kill if somebody quote unquote steals my kill. In my opinion, it's completely a kill secure, and I'm completely cool with it. So we got a bow in Des Moines. Not much we can really do, but right before I put my shot in, he gets a nice little hit. So we snagged the kill right there. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of quote unquote kill stealing, if it gets annoying or whatnot. I know if you're working on maybe like a campaign or a mission or something like that and you need them, then it could be kind of a bummer. But overall, what do you guys think? All right, but anyway, back to the topic. So we're starting to see this pattern of people playing specifically this class wrong, right? You're seeing more and more battleships shooting HE. You're seeing more and more battleships sniping. You're seeing more and more battleships not getting into the fight and tanking like they need to, and giving a tier 8 premium battleship the ability to shoot, decently from 25 kilometers and almost 30 with the spotter plane, kind of gives me, I'm a little worried. I don't like this kind of play style. I like when battleships are meant to learn, you know, the quote unquote education process and the learning curve and the, you know, all that kind of stuff has been completely cut down. If you wargaming and warships in total is much easier to progress through than it was, let's say, a year ago. With how many flags there are, with how many missions there are, with how many events there are, and stuff like that. Lower credit costs for ships, and it's a much easier game to progress through. So the number of games needed to get to tier 10 and to get to high tier and stuff like that, quote unquote high tier, I would consider high tier kind of 8 and up, can be, and I think right here, I think the Chappie pulls a Chappie. Yeah, 4 overpens, broadside 8 kilometers. I began to hate the Chappies in ranked. But overall, the game itself, and so even though we're relatively lightly armored, we took that shot pretty well. I think that was from the Amagi or the Moss. But the game is so much easier, so the learning process is much shorter when it comes to a lot of these ships. And that's kind of the thing I'm nervous about, it is a premium like this that is not only you know, kind of meant for quote unquote sniping, or you know, it is a perfect tool to practice that playstyle. So I'm not super excited. We saw with the Royal Navy Battleship, it's an entire line that promotes kind of long range HE spamming in battleships, and you know, people would play against these ships and say, well, I'm getting burnt down, now I'm going to try to burn them down. So we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I think the ship has potential of being fun and decent at tier 8 as a ship itself. I just don't like what it's promoting, and I think it's pretty dangerous what it's promoting, because it is going to make this battleship player base we're seeing right now potentially even worse of a player base, because people are just going to get farther and farther and farther away, and you're just getting completely away from you know, from what they're supposed to do. Now, this game I think was my most successful game with the Gasconge, and I was only shooting, I think I exclusively shot AP this entire game, and the APU is actually pretty solid. A lot of people were telling me that they were getting a lot of success with HE, and I was like, well, I don't really like the HE spam. I mean, I have the Conqueror, I've played it, it's my highest damage ship, just like it is anybody who has it. But really, I wanted to be a bit more aggressive and kind of see if I can do like square peg round hole a little bit and try to be pretty effective. So I was actually pushing in. We're bottom tier. There's a Montana right off to my left, and I'm just going to push into this. I'm pushing into a Missouri, a Moskva, and a Amagi, a Chappie, Zal over there too. But I'm just going to push in and see how this thing did. I really wanted to test out the armor. So right now we're full speed forward. Try to take out this Moskva, maybe take out that Chappie. Chappie goes down. But I'm gonna push this Missouri. I don't care. We'll keep going. So there's a nice little double Citadel. Bingo bango. There you go. AP on the ship. Use it up. 100,000 damage, which is always decent to get. But yeah. Again, I think this ship has potential. I think what they'll end up doing is they will keep the range. I think they'll keep the dispersion, and I think they'll just buff it. As we talked about earlier and compared it. We are, I think, at 380 millimeters, we are the only ship with this long of reload. So maybe they pump it down to 26. But again, it's a battleship with a 25 kilometer base range and a speed boost and stuff like that. So you are not going to be promoting close range. I guess not really brawling. Not like battleships need to brawl, but again, when something has, you know, and there's that dispersion right there. When something has the range, people are going to use it, and that's not how battleships are played. Anyway, guys, that is the Gasconge. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.